Hello everybody, good morning, and welcome back to the Wednesday edition of Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and Disembodied Hands, Queen Quindy, and her servitors, Justin and John. How are you all? Yes, we are here, we are here, we are here, we are here, and Crowley with the, oh my, triple subiversary, triple subiversary, triple subiversary, happy triple subiversary. There. I don't have any whiskey. I can't send you virtual whiskey. So we're going to finish up Dragon today. There's not much left to do. And then I've got Cat Dragon in the Christmas tree all prepped up. So I've got to knead my blue tack a bit because it's very stiff. It's not sticking the kitty cat on there very well. Why don't we have puppy dragons? I guess we have a wolf dragon. But they're just not like... Cat dragons are just like something that works. Deep frying a totally unsuitable food, huh? I can fail miserably at bowling while still having a good time. And pool, billiards, I can fail miserably at that. Actually, it's been way too long since I played pool. Way, way, way too long. Used to always play. I don't know if I can deep fry a totally unsuitable food. I'd have to look around and figure out. I suppose I could deep fry some chocolate. I don't know how that would work. I guess I could, though. Oh, we have a double? Did I miss another one? Oh, we did. A Quindy. Oh, no. I guess I could sing for both of you. Or I could sing for each of you, rather. I was singing because I caught the first one, but I didn't catch the Quindy. Quindy, I obviously need more caffeine. Send it. Stat. Isn't that your job? Right? Don't we have that matter transference device? Triple subiversary, triple subiversary, triple subiversary, happy triple subiversary to Queen Quindy, who keeps us moving and going and generally progressing, more or less on track. Driver of the choo-choo train. Yeah, I just had to think about how I would deep fry chocolate. I mean, I guess I could do a batter on it, and like, I probably have to use the air fryer, though I don't really have like means for deep frying. I don't know. Yeah, send us both more caffeine. Alrighty. Da-da-da. That said, I might have to add a gooier poster tack. Now this happens. This is why I keep several different types of mounting putties and poster tacks in my thing. If you use this stuff and you don't use double-sided tape, which I'm not a big fan of double-sided tape, I have a couple of different poster tacks, and essentially I know which ones, out of experimentation, which ones are gooier and which ones are not gooey. And this one, which I don't remember where I got it, but it's a darker blue one. This is definitely gooier than the straight up tack. And my blue tack is gooier than this. So I could add some blue tack, and it would be gooier. I'm not sure where all my blue tack went. David may have eaten it. I seem to be missing my... Oh, there it is. There's some blue tack. Hiding in the... But yeah, the traditional blue tack, I find, starts out firmer, but it does go goopy after a while. Like, it definitely goes way too sticky after a while. Or maybe I just got a bad box, but I found that it definitely had a point where it went, like, where it started to creep out and just, like, do that. So essentially I grab usually a little bit of that goopy. You can see how goopy it is. It's really hard to take off. My failed goopy blue tack. And I mix a little bit of that into a stiffer putty. And then you get perfect. Then you get like the perfect mixture to hold a miniature on. Got it, Agent Marvel. All right, well, I'm going to take this off because it's still not quite sticky enough for a metal. If it was a plastic model, this would be sticky enough. But because it's a big cat on a Christmas tree and it's metal, I'm going to put some of my goopy. I'm going to put some goopy stuff in, and then I'm going to see if I want to use some of my darker blue stuff. So we'll just kind of fold this up and start just kneading it like we would knead blue, green stuff. Triple batter. I don't think I would triple batter. I'm just too healthy now. Oh no! That small Scottish cat got 2 songs. I regret small Scottish cat. That's crazy. Banana fritters are tasty. David loves banana fritters. All right, so actually this has worked very well. I'm integrating. It's kind of easier when you've got 2 different colors of putty, and then you can really tell when you're like mixing them together. But usually what I'm looking for is just a feel of stickiness through the whole blob, and then it should be good. And also more pulliness like this. See how it's pulling out a lot more now. It's more chewing gum. I would probably use really, really good chocolate. I don't know, we've got some. We could use the we could go decadent and use the marzipan filled dark chocolate. We could do that and deep fry that. That would be pretty awesome, and also definitely too decadent. Except you see, the problem is I just went back on my diet so I could feel better after having too many carbs over Thanksgiving. So sadly, my motivation to embrace the full Scottishness of St. Andrew's Day has been marred by my excesses over Thanksgiving. Because no matter how you make stuffing, it's going to be pretty carby unless you use almond flour, and it's just not the same. So there we go. So curling up the edges a little bit over the base to keep the cat dragon in place. Once I've got it firmly, it'll stick to the wood really well, the putty will. So I can, once I've got it firmly stuck to that, I can kind of creep up the edges and get cat dragon firmly encapsulated. And then we are ready to just whip out the paint. But I wanted to get cat dragon set in before we went to painting. Just trying to get that all smushed together. There we go. Pretty good, pretty good. I think cat dragon will be fine. Excellent. Okay. Yay. Yes, I'm back to lowering my carbs down to try to sleep better. Sleep is my superpower, so I need to... Hey, Gerard Monster. Sure. I'm streaming. I had to stream, I felt like. On Monday, after our CEO passed, I felt like I definitely wanted to stream and talk to the community. So there's our dragon. And we're going to do the horns today. And I think I need to do just a little bit more. I need to do teeth. You do just a little bit more on the jaw on this side to bring it out. So we need horns and teeth. And he's really looking pretty. I really like the dragon. Yeah, I cut way back on carbs before Thanksgiving, and it really improved my sleep exponentially, Zachariah. I mean, I was on keto for a while, so this shouldn't be a surprise to me, but it eternally surprises me how predictable it is. All right, so let's get our colors, and I have those colors for our dragon scales. We were using Imperial Purple, Tropical Blue, and Ice Devil Blue. So we're using a couple of different colors that we haven't used, like Ice Devil. Haha, I'm not going to break, no, I will not deep fry some chocolate just because. I mean, it's tempting. It's tempting. I might save that for Christmas. Might have to do that. That might be good. But I can see how caramel-filled ones would be the one to go with, like as far as the deep frying goes. Let's see here. I want bone colors. And I need some fairly saturated bone color because the dragon here is pretty intense. So let's see what I got. Will that work? Actually, I could go with driftwood. I could go with driftwood here. Let's go with driftwood. And I can go with, where's my creamy ivory or my Osirian sand? Let's look at both and see. I try to kind of hold the colors up next to the dragon to see. I think I'll go with Osirian sand actually. So we're using a couple different Pathfinder colors on this one. Yeah, I haven't checked my sleep score today to see if it's better, so I'm excited. But my Fitbit is really dying now. It's only staying, like, it only holds charge for like 2 or 3 days now. Christmas can't come soon enough, because I know that's what David's getting me for Christmas. Reaper minis for, Yeti Shredder and Tiki Wood Golem. Sure, no problem, Gerard Monster. The Reaper community is great at tips and encouragement, just gotta say. All right, so let's get some of these colors mixed up. I'm gonna back out a bit here so that we can, I'm always crooked these days. I'm dare I say kitty corner? The kitty in the corner. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. All right, there we go. Let's just mix them up. Remember, we're using black, purple, blue, kind of for a Shadow Dragon Pokey tool. This is the Reapercon Pokey tool from this year. Just going to get all these colors set out so that I have them in case I have to touch up or I want to change color on anything. Hey Daffodweir, how's it going? We've got our tropical blue, which is a warm medium blue. Would be a great highlight for 9117 cyan, by the way. So if you use cyan blue like I do and you want a nice highlight for it, tropical blue 9419 is your choice. Is it Luca Day today, Quindy? Do we have an imminent Luca after stream? Yep, have fun, Everlina. Oh, that reminds me. I finally took pictures of my Dragonborn in WoW last night. So sometime, here, let me get it. Sometime I want to be a dragon that looks like this. So I went for a bronze dragon because I really like bronze dragons. But I really like her stripes and the dark color on her, like her arms look kind of charred. She's got cool stripey patterns on her wings. And down here we have like a warm brown shading into like char black with stripes and stripes. And she's got big dark feet, which are kind of toasty looking. I really love this. This is a cool, it is Luca Day. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, she's really cool. I like her a lot. I just haven't played her. I was playing my priest instead. She's got a knobby tail. So yeah, the models on this on the WoW expansion for the dragon, Drakthir, I call them Dragonborn, because you know. But they're really neat. So they're really cool. Done. I think that's the best one I got. Yeah, I just really like the scale pattern and the colors I ended up with. So I have to paint a dragon at some point with those colors. Oh no, I'm Rhonda today? Wow. I didn't feel different at all. Where's my Dragon Black? Dragon Black, where'd you go? There you are. But yeah, actually the character creator, if you have World of Warcraft, the character creator for the Drakthir is actually pretty cool and extensive, and you can build some beautiful dragons in it. All different colors. And patterns. It would be kind of fun to just brainstorm dragon patterns with that thing. So we've got some Dragon Black, Imperial Purple, Tropical Blue, and Ice Devil Blue from Pathfinder. I'm going to grab... interesting. So I am Rhonda, but I'm not Rhonda at the same time. I'm Schrodinger's Anne. Today is the last day of the month. I have a Patreon video to finish up editing on. NaNoWriMo to win, which I'm only, I think, 800 words away from winning. I'm almost there, guys. 50,000 words in 1 month. Detergent has gremlins. Don't put them in water. And I'm just going to do I think I'm going to do a 2-to-1 on that, a 2-to-1 on that, and I'm going to keep that. I'll do that. There. Twitch is being Twitch, yeah. Possible. All right. We've got all of our pretty colors now. We can begin. And I think we're gonna start. So let's see here. Start here. And tropical and imperial and black. 2-to-1 with black. 4-to-1 with imperial and tropical. 2-to-1 with the lighter color. No, we appreciate you alerting us, Turgeon. I mean, sometimes it's not just you. Sometimes it is actually us. And then I need some, and I did mix a little bit of my driftwood into my Osirian sand. I'm going to get some pure white out too. And we're going to do that 2-to-1. There we are. Ah, yeah. See, no harm in mentioning it. Like, you should never be afraid to be wrong. Like, and some people are. Actually, I talked a little bit a while ago about a personality test that I had taken that I was really, like, enamored of, which was the Clifton Strengths test. And it continues to supply revelations to me, but one of them is that there are definitely personality types. Like, it's not like there are types of personalities that are very concerned with being right and that are not comfortable with, like, actually going out on a limb to potentially be wrong. And then there are personality types that love to be wrong because they learn something new. And this is definitely like a type of personality. Like, it's a type of personality that you may or may not have, right? And I had learned, because I've never really been afraid to raise my hand and take a guess at something, but that's like that capability, that particular category, I'm like number 2 out of 34 in. So it's no surprise that I'm not afraid to be wrong, even on stream. Always willing to give it a try. Right. But it's the attitude, right? It's like, are you willing to be wrong? Like, you know, do you actually embrace being wrong because it's an opportunity for you to learn something new, right? And that's the way I view it. Is like, if I venture a guess or I try something and I'm wrong, then I'll remember that it's not the way to do it, and I'll learn some other way to do it. Like, I'll learn something new, and that's like the payoff for me. That's why I'm willing to be wrong. But there are definitely personality types who they hate being wrong, right? It really goes against their personality. They would rather go off and, you know, do some research or find out something and have the answer, not venture, you know, to just guess based on what they already know. a lot of the stuff I'm studying right now with this particular personality stuff it's being applied to writing, but you could totally apply it to miniature painting. Every time I read like some of this stuff, I'm like, oh, that could be a type of painter. But I'll tell you guys, one thing that I am learning is that it's not like there's just 4 types of creative, right? There's not. It's the lady who teaches this. She's like, there's not just, I cannot break down you 4 types of writers. I cannot break down for you even 10. There's like a ton of different styles and types of writers. You can't be that general about it. So always remember, the thing you should take away from this is always remember that when you wander around Twitch or YouTube or whatever, that person's like presentation style may just not work for you. Like there may be things that somebody is doing that maybe actually won't work for you, but that's great. Just keep looking. There's no way to easily break down which painter's style and like the way they teach, the way they approach a project. It may resonate for you, it may not, but just keep looking and you'll probably eventually find someone who resonates with you. Maybe, Agent Marvel. It's really if it's personality based, it would also extend to outside of class. It's definitely in a classroom situation. That's different, right? So it gets very very specific. But this is the sort of stuff where it applies to like all aspects of your life. All right, so let's get these teeth. I'm going to do these teeth. I just had to correct the face a little bit, but now we're going to get real up close, and we're going to start painting the teeth. I am going to underpaint them first because I want them to be crisp. Crisp smile on the dragon. Yeah, what the strengths test does is it essentially it's got 34 different strengths, and the theory behind this test, which I really love, is you're not taking it to learn where you're weak so you can work on that. That's actually the opposite of what the Clifton Strengths Finder does. Gallup, when they started this, they were working off of studies that showed that people benefited far more from trying to enhance their strengths than from trying to shore up their weaknesses. I think the study that the head lead lady on this mentions is the speed reading study. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. Oh, that tooth. I gotta double down on that tooth. Hold on. Got a little bit messy on it. And it's a fang. We cannot have messy fangs on this dragon. There we go. Oh, it's very different from the Myers-Briggs. Oh, no, yeah. Clifton Strengths. It's Gallup's thing. And it's backed by, like, decades of research into successful personality types. It's not an easy... It actually costs money to take, which I did, and I have not regretted it, because it's... Like I said, I liked the idea of... I've never really been, like, a real fan of the whole shore up your weaknesses kind of thing. And what their research pretty much proves conclusively is that you're going to have more success in life if you find out what your strengths are and focus on those. Because your strengths can increase a lot more than your weak points. Like, you have a lot of developmental potential in your strengths that you don't have in your weaknesses. So, anyway, the study that they mention is a speed reading study that was conducted where all of the participants were given kind of a speed reading test, and some proved to have more aptitude for it than others, right? So then they assigned all of the people a speed reading course. And the people who had tested as, not strong on speed reading increased from I think from 50 words a minute to 300. But the people who actually had aptitude for it increased to 3,000 words, true speed reading. And that's just one of the things that they essentially use to kind of try to assess strengths versus weaknesses and whether you should whether you should put your time, because we all have limited time on this world, whether it was more productive and more payoff to essentially put your time into developing your strengths instead of your weaknesses. So I decided to try this out. So I'm currently happily tumbling around in all of the research while I'm in my off. Yeah, I've never seen Willow. I've never seen Willow, and I'm like, I have zero interest in seeing the new one because of that. All right, so we've got our white down. So, except that fang is also a little bit unclear. I want that. That's okay. I'm team no Willow. I would always rather Labyrinth. But that's cool. I mean, if it's a fantasy thing on TV, I will always cheer it on and hope lots of people watch it. Because right now we're in the heyday of fantasy series being adapted for television and movies, and I'm so happy about it because hey, it's my genre. Yeah, Grand Oracle. Yeah, exactly. There's a ton of research behind this, more than I think any other personality tests. I mean, I think it's been 4 decades. It's been a lot. I don't know, maybe Myers-Briggs also has a lot, but I really love it. Since I've been reading and listening to YouTube videos about my strengths, about my top 5, and it's wow, it describes me to a T. It's dead on. It's absolutely, I'm oh, this is where that comes from. And it's really just fascinating. I love this kind of thing though, and some people don't care. Yeah, right? Yeah, I don't remember what my EN or TJ or whatever blah blah thing is. I've long since forgotten it. Whatever it was, the name of it was Architect, which does, I mean, it's fine, but the Clifton program goes into so much freaking more detail. Crazy amounts of detail. So it's not a cheap test, although if you buy the book on it, it comes with the code for the first 5. Which is what I did. And then later, as I got more into it and saw kind of results from it that made sense and helped me to kind of fine tune my writing process, which is what I originally kind of got into it for. As I got into that, I actually paid to upgrade it to all 34 to see where I was weak as well. No surprises there, really. In fact, it's astonishing that I'm successful at all on Twitch, given my low social scores. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, some of them, with Clifton, they specifically say, take it once, never take it again. You should be able to just log into Clifton and get your previous results. That's what you use. But the raw response is the truest, and the overtime response tends to not be as applicable. But you can always log in to once you've done that assessment, you can always log into the Gallup website on it and look up your old results. Which is nice, because, I don't think I can do that with Enneagram or anything. Maybe I can do it with Enneagram. I did take Enneagram, and it was interesting. But I feel like the Clifton thing, the way it's structured, was a little more helpful for me to figure out how I tick. And it's specifically, I like that it's specifically geared to help you enhance your strengths. So it gives you suggestions for if you want to play to this strength, here are some things you can try, you know, stuff like that. And there's just it's really cool. I don't know. It's the test that resonated with me the strongest out of all the. I've probably taken 3 or 4 over the years. I took Enneagram this summer because my my niece and nephew had taken it, and so I did it just to see what I was. Eek. But yeah, what I really signed up for this is because I wanted to figure out my best creative process, which it can be used for that, you know. So I'd really like to kind of figure out where my pitfalls and my best way of, like, especially for my writing, my best way of going about things is. And what I've learned is it's actually been kind of liberating because I'm a slow painter and a slow writer, as you guys know. Or maybe I've mentioned both. I hope I have before, but if you didn't know, I'm a slow both. My creative process is itself slow. And I used to think that there was something wrong with me for sitting around staring at a model for ages before I figured out how to paint it. And then I learned that actually no, that's one of my strengths things. And it also was like, it's interesting. It's sometimes I'll go back and I'll kind of tighten or reiterate. You know, a lot of times I'll remember what's a soft finish, what I would consider a soft finish on a model. And then at the end, I'll go back and I'll tighten up everything. I'll go over everything again. That is also like in my Clifton strengths, that particular pattern. It's interesting. So yeah, so like, I really enjoy anything that kind of gives me a window into my creative process because it's all too easy in this hobby for people to tell you you're doing it wrong. And even me, who's been doing this for a very, very long time, you know, I still will, if a big name painter who I admire is like, oh man, that's, you know, blah, 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 then I'm still going to maybe doubt myself in the moment. So it's refreshing to have something that celebrates like the differences between people, that everybody's creative process is valid for them. It's not you. If your creative process, if you try somebody else's process, somebody else's painting type, process or whatever, creative process in general, planning, color choosing, whatever, if you can't do it, if you can't make it work, it's not you. Or, you know, it's not your fault. It's not because you're wrong. It's because you're not wired to do it that way. And so that's why it's not working. So never think that like you're doing it wrong. Look at instead and kind of ask yourself, hey, does this play to my strengths? Like, is this how I've had success in the past with things like this? Stuff like that. So we're just taking some driftwood brown, we're going over our white, and then we're coming back and highlighting with the Osirian sand. I'm just doing a kind of a stripy pattern on the horns here. But yeah, all those personality tests, you know, the thing that's probably common through all of them, and the thing that we really should take away from them, is that everybody is really different. And our methods are going to be different. The way we think about things is different. The way we go about completing a challenge is very different. It can make it hard if you've got a more, like a rare personality type, because finding people who get you gets challenging then, right? And that can be hard because we all, a lot of us, some of us are wired to look for people like us, right? To find a painter who kind of works like me and then see what their process is, right? But that can be more difficult than it seems if you have a process that's unusual. So I think the biggest takeaway the biggest rewarding thing that I've learned from studying this, my results on this personality test and the test itself in general, is that your biggest breakthrough will come when you like accept that your process is the best for you. Like, and by your process, it's usually the process you were first drawn to. Even though I think a lot of us kind of abandon that because it's like back in the day, and I was so slow back then, but maybe, you know, if you were completing things, or you like, you were happier with your painting or whatever, maybe try to go kind of back in that direction. Not like, totally back, but figure out what it was. Look at your various things you've tried as a painter, and ask yourself, when was I most successful? When was I closest to having, a lot of joy and success in my hobby, right? Because our hobbies should be joyful things. Even if we're not a great painter, you should still enjoy it. And don't let other people's expectations of how you might paint mess with that. Good example is writing. A lot of times, almost everybody will tell you, don't stop and edit, right? Don't stop and edit. You'll never finish the book, blah, blah, blah. So I have a book like that where, that was the second book actually of this series, where I actually didn't finish it for a very long time. Instead, I just went back to the beginning, and I kept working on it and working on it and working my way. And slowly the book got more and more closer to done. But a lot of writing teachers would probably have said, you are wasting so much time now, right? You should have just finished it and then gone back. But what I've come to realize is that going slow and working through things a lot is part of my process. And so that writing, if a writing teacher told me that, they'd actually be wrong, dead wrong. This is the way I work. So realizing that fact was really liberating. It really cut down on anxiety and just general unhappiness with my writing process. So same in painting, folks. Take everything with a grain of salt, even my stuff. My stuff won't be right for some of you. But speed is not the end all be all. So, I mean, a lot of us look at our stuff and we're like, oh, I'm such a slow painter. Grump, grump, sad trombone, right? Yeah, it's a fundamental way, that strengths test pretty much is fundamental ways you have of looking at and interacting with the world, Agent Marvel. So I think that if you're old enough to take it, you're probably old enough to get at it. I feel like sometimes when I was a teenager, my strengths hadn't come like fully in yet. Like I feel like I was still pretty erratic, but that also is part of my stuff. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, I think some things can change. Like the way you feel about your stuff might influence how you answer the questions. But if you're an adult, I think that it probably won't shift that much. I don't know. Maybe that would be interesting. I'm sure they've done research on that. I should ask. Since I'm on the teacher's Discord, I should ask her, since she's a certified strengths coach. I'm sure they cover that. Because I know she said not to retake it. What she said was that if you retake it, it actually can be not as accurate. So I wonder kind of, because, okay, so there's this thing. There's this theory that, when you're younger, you're actually truer to like your actual like self, and as life like turns you around and jumps up and down on you, you change, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worst, according to your own lights, better and worse always being subjective. So maybe this test is trying to get at like core you and not learned you. I don't know. It's weird. I wish I had the money to take their certification program. I'd totally go into it. But yeah, I don't know. All I know is that when I took this sucker, it was like dead on. Like the things that it was saying about how I operate and how I think and how I engage and how I produce are like dead on. They have a class because this particular coach is a writer, and so she coaches writers, and they have a class where she and her other coaches essentially look at your strengths and outline kind of the best work process for you, the probable best work process, like the way to help get unstuck and out of block and stuff like that, and just to be more productive, essentially to play to your strengths when you're working. I'm very tempted to take that course. There's one coming up in February. It would probably help both my painting and my writing. Because it would be nice to like look at this stuff and try to figure out how can I use it to make my painting like better, more efficiently, like just, like I always wanted to be like a little bit faster, and I wanted to, like, I get tired of projects, and I wonder why that is, and things like that. Kind of wonder if part of it is my process. Who knows? I love analyzing this stuff, though. Just like I always loved analyzing miniature painting styles. Like, it's getting at the deep points of how we do what we do and why we do it and what makes people different. I love that stuff. All right, so now we've got these lines, but they're a little bit too like just spirally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to totally change. Instead of, with the highlight, instead of going in the same way, I'm actually going to start doing little nips along this way. And I'll use my Assyrian sand for that. Essentially, that'll bring a little bit more texture in. I think the other thing that's kind of like, I wonder how many people actually take these personality tests and actually act on them. Like trying to use them to be better at stuff, right? So we'll just add in just those little textures. You see that makes more of a flaky kind of ridged texture on there. And that's all just done with paint. It's not the underlying sculpt. You can see the difference. But all I did was do some little dashes in there. So let's do the other side. I'm also super keyed on to self-improvement, and not everybody is. Like we've talked before about people who just enjoy painting, and that's all they want of the hobby is just to paint and enjoy it. They really, they aren't into like, becoming, like getting better. They don't really care about it. It's not anything like wrong. It's just like, that's just the way that they like work. That's just not everybody is interested in improving in everything they do. It took me, as a person who does want to improve in everything I do, it took me a long time to understand it. And it was teaching mini painting that got me there. Got me to understand those people. That they just wanted a hobby to just genuinely enjoy it. And they were happy with what they were doing. Like they were happy with the process. They were happy with the relaxation. They didn't feel like they needed to improve. I think sometimes we give people a little bit too much pressure to improve. But like, the temptation is just to be sad for those people. And it's like, no, you shouldn't. They're totally happy with the way that they're going. They know themselves. They know what they want. And that should be the thing that everybody wants, right? So now we're putting those ridges on there. Helps to make a little bit. I was thinking about this. I don't have a really good, unless my dull coat is still alive, I don't think I have a really good matting spray. So instead of putting a gloss on this, I think I'm going to put several coats of the Reaper brush on sealer on it to protect it. Yeah, that is the thing. That is the thing, right? It's like free tests can tell you about yourself. But then you have to figure out how to leverage that, right? They don't give you any help. This is the first test that like kind of like went, hey, if you're like this, then, you know, maybe schedule a little time a day to just let yourself think over stuff, right? Like one of my strengths is called intellection, and it's pretty much that as I think on things, I think over them again and again, and every time I do, I get a little deeper into it and I understand it a little better. So it's a deep thinker kind of strength. And sure enough, like when I get really busy, I tend to cut out my thinking time, right? Because normally I like to take a long walk, just me, and that's my think time. And I just kind of let things roll around in my head for a while. And I come out with some awesome ideas, or, you know, a paint scheme, or an idea for my book, or, you know, whatever. But I hadn't realized until it brought my attention to that I'd cut back on my thinking time. And now that I'm letting my thinking time out again, like I'm concentrating, of making sure I get some just alone thinking, relaxed time every day. It really is helping a lot with my stress levels and with like my enjoyment of my hobby and my writing, like both. Like it's crazy that one change like that has really made a huge difference in my like happiness level. It's kind of crazy. How do you even work in a team? Yeah. Isn't it? It's funny, isn't it, Kerniko? Because I'm also a loner. All my top strengths are loner strengths. Wanted to get paid so I could afford my hobbies. See, the thing is, you know, it may not be your strength to work in a team, but we can almost all adapt to do it, right? It's like they say don't concentrate on shoring up your weaknesses, but if you have a weakness that's really impacting your life negatively, then it's fair to work on it a little and get it to a level that's at least functional, you know? But yeah. But yeah, apparently it's the intellection strength is very common. Well, it's very common among writers. I wonder how common it is among painters. It makes sense for writers to me that deep thinking would help. But it's how I write my books too. Like I write it and then I stop and I think about it and I go back and I revise and I think about it. And every time I revise it, I get a little deeper. I get a little bit, you know. And so yeah, so now I know that I need to give myself time alone. It used to be that I would just go on the treadmill in the evening when I was in Texas. I would just go out on the treadmill in the evening out in the garage. But my tendency over the years grew, like changed, right? I used to walk and think. And then I started just listening to audiobooks. Like I think I got into Audible and nonfiction. I started instead listening, and it was good audiobooks, like inspirational audiobooks, and that stuff that, you know, I was interested in, nonfiction usually. And that actually fed a different strength that I have, which is, you know, a learning strength that I always want to be learning, and I can springboard ideas off of that. But it was also harming my thinky, my intellection like tendency. So I think the answer is to do a little bit of both, but not to, like, I always was filling my head with noise on my walks, and I'm learning that doing that is actually not good for me in the long run. It's very interesting stuff. Most of us will tolerate a lot so to get paid so that we can afford our hobbies, right? So I'm going to take a little bit of a darker color, kind of a mix of my driftwood and the Osirian sand, and I'm going to do the underside of the horns there, just to suggest a little bit of that texture again. And then on this side, I'll do that on the underside as well. Yeah, Kodiak, I can see it. And, you know, maybe when you were attracted to nursing, maybe you were attracted to that for different reasons, right? Like there could have been aspects of the career that really did attract you in a different way. They might play to a different strength you have. But yeah, sometimes we do get stuck in places where we're not sure that's where we need to be. Or maybe it was okay for you at the beginning and then it changes, right? We do change. I'm going to just put a little bit more on the back of the horns here, even though this is kind of the black like side of the dragon, but I'm going to just have these trail off. So you just got little dashes on the back a little bit. Yeah. So you like alone time, but if you can't, it's not going to make your brain really implode. There are people whose brains would really implode if they couldn't get out and away. There we are, guys. Look, he's got horns. He's so cute. So cute. Now we gotta highlight his little teeths. I sketched in the teeths, but I did not really highlight them. I need them to be brown first. Side teeth can probably stay white. Yeah, he's getting there. Now just little highlights on the teeth, and we're good. And a little bit of my Osirian sand, and then we'll highlight them with white. These big teeth. And I'll try to keep the brown more toward the root of the tooth, and put the white more toward the very tip. Sometimes it's hard to do that on little teeth. Just do the best you want to, or the best you can, rather. All right, and then a little bit of white on the very ends of the teeth, and I'll actually come up and add a little bit of white along the top of the horns as well. Okay, oh, fun. Yeah. Have a good one, Grand Orgle. Drive safe. Although since the snow has melted, you're probably okay. But sometimes it gets slippery when that happens. I don't know, it does not snow here. If I want snow, we'll have to go up to the mountains. All right, let's get some white up on those horns. Ha, 8 years. Yep. Yeah, well, yeah, loving the science part of it. See, that's kind of what I was getting at with the whole, you know, there was probably some part of it that really did attract you. I have a friend who is a veterinary assistant, and she started out being, for a long time, she worked in the emergency overnight part of her vet practice, her vet's practice. But she is definitely a introvert, and so over the years, I think she realized it was not a good fit for her, and now she's doing data entry and collection, and oh, she loves it so much more. There we go. Yeah, trying this on a Shadow Dragon would be kind of annoying, although, I mean, you're starting with a black prime, you're working up with purple. It only really gets persnickety when you start trying to do the blue reflection stuff. And on some scales, you wouldn't even be doing all of that. So yeah, maybe not that crazy. Maybe just a few sanity points. I'm so happy with myself for finishing Nano this year. And I feel like I'm really heading on, guys. This is going to be a good year, this 2023 thing. I think. I'm glad I started this 5-year journal. Those of you who didn't hear me talk about this, I actually learned about this from this program, this coach person. But it's really neat because every page is a day of the year, and there are 5 slots on each page, and so you just have a little bit to write about each day. But I'm glad I started it now, because by the time, think about it, by the time I finish this 5-year journal, I'll have been married to David for 5 years. Kiki will be like 5 years old, and I'll be a published author, like several years into my published author career. So I can't wait. I can't wait to see how things change. There we go. I think we're good, guys. I think we're good. Maybe we could put a little bit of a white dot in the middle of Shadow Dragon Eye. I feel like we lost our white a little. There. There. There we are. Now I do want to trim down this tooth a little bit. It got a little clumpy. Gonna grab some black and just kind of resculpt it a little bit there. And there we are. We have our very own Shadow Dragon Pokey tool. So that's how we ended up. Now we need to seal Dragon. And I think I am going to put 1 coat on right now. So for those who have never used the Reaper brush on sealer, I thin it just a little bit. I use like 5 drops of sealer and 1 drop of water. 1 drop or brush full. Shake it well before you start, because you can see the little agitator stuck on the bottom there. That is stuck in the matting medium, which definitely will, if you don't shake it into solution every time, it'll slowly sit there, and then when you get toward the end of the bottle, it'll come loose and you'll have a very frosty sealer. If you can't get it up, then if you can't get it up by shaking, or you get frustrated with it, then you can just take the top off and maybe take one of your other pokey tools or something long. I often use the butt of a paintbrush. Let me see if I've got one I want to sacrifice. Here we go. Use my synthetic and just get in there and just kind of run it around the bottom, all around the bottom rim, and that'll bring up all that matting agent. Then just give it another quick shake and you're good. Quick shake to integrate. Great. Perfect. Now we can't see that agitator. It's all nice and in solution. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's try 6 drops. And 1 big drop of water. Oh, is it Kerniko? That's good. I'm glad it works that way. I'm going to move to a bigger brush here. We're going to use our Reaper 0. I'm going to mix this up. I just find that putting a little bit of water into the sealer loosens it up a bit. I can put a nice smooth coat on it. We'll start at his little snout. Start at the snout, work back. I don't let it pool a ton. So if I see it pooling, I'll come back, kind of pull it off and spread it over the rest of the model. So I've got a lot of pools now and puddles. And I'm going to come back. I'm going to rinse off my brush and squeeze the water out, and then I'm going to come and wick off those big pools. Kind of spread it out, pull that stuff away from there. And I'll have to rinse out and squeeze out my brush several times to get all of it. You have to move pretty quick because this stuff will start to dry, especially if you're in a drier environment. Now let that go. I've got a nice even coat. You can see how shiny it is. And it'll dull down as it dries. And once it is dry, I will put an extra layer on areas where I feel I'm going to be rubbing stuff off. So probably all the top of the horns down to these plates here. Maybe a little on the top of the snout. And probably a little bit on the tips of these longer horns. The longer scales. And meanwhile, I will get out my ancient oak to put a base coat on cat, a Christmas tree cat, Christmas tree dragon cat. Sit down and dry, dragon. So you could go with pine green for a shadow for this. You could go with, I'm going with ancient oak. You want a dark green. I usually start my trees, my Christmas trees or evergreens, with a dark green. Then I apply some white and take up the outward branches accordingly. The shadows between the boughs are very dark on evergreens if you go and look at them. They get really, really, really dark. So starting dark makes sense to me, but I didn't want to start this entire piece dark because I wanted the ornaments to be bright and stuff like that. So I didn't want to black prime this, so I white primed it. It's slowly drying. So I have a bit of moisture in the cracks. All right, so ancient oak is a beautiful color that looks like that. Guys tend to like this color for some reason. A lot of men at Paint Club really gravitated toward this color. Oh, and it's gonna need a Pokey tool, but Dragon Pokey tool is not ready yet, so we're using a different Pokey tool. My Pokey tools are getting pretty globbed up. I'm going to have to clean them. Clean them relatively soon. Come on, green. I'm going to shake it a little bit. Ancient bloke. There we go. It was just a little goopy. It had a little bit of a paint booger in it. I could see you could start orc skin with this. It's cooler than usual greens, so it would make a pretty good shadow that way. It makes a really nice color when you highlight it up by mixing in Naga green, which is what I'll probably do for the tree. So there's our green color. And we'll thin it down a bit. I've got quite a bit of it because it kind of burst out, so. And it's not super dark, so there may be shadows on this tree I go back into by mixing in a little bit of brown liner into this. I'm going to set dragon aside for a minute. And again, I'm going to be using my Reaper Zero for base coating because there's a lot of area to cover on this tree and I don't want to be tackling it with my tiny brush. Yeah, they went for the, it makes for better pictures. I kind of like the dark orc thing. Oh, kitty, I got your paw. Kitty's paw got green. Kitty stuck her paw in green food coloring, apparently. There. Actually, I have white, so I can paint over it. So this is not a super solid base coat. It should actually show a little bit of the raised areas through it. I need to remember to avoid my big Christmas tree things. No, I have not decided on a color for the cat. I may go orange, but I was actually thinking about going like pale gray and white. I'm not sure. I don't want to make any decisions yet. I've done an orange kitty in recent memory, so maybe I'll do a different thing this time. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Chris, as Kirst points out. Yeah, I'm gonna just sit and wait. I'm not gonna make a decision on the kitty. I'm gonna do the tree because the tree is fairly constrained as to colors that are going to be on it since it's a Christmas tree. And then I will make my decision. I really need to order David's presents. Yeah, we'll see. I may do a white kitty. I may not. I am going to play to my strengths, ha ha ha, and let the ideas tumble around in my head until I get the right one. Yay, there's nothing mistaking a Christmas tree once you get all the colors on. The nice thing about base coating these is since the needles are all like different clumps, you don't have to paint it all smoothly, you can just duck around and paint whatever part of it. You're not going to get a clumpy base coat because everything is sculpted separate anyway. Separate little clumps of foliage. Yeah, we have an X pen up so that we don't have our tree yet because we want it to last till New Year's. We'll get our tree probably in a couple weeks toward the later in the season. But we have an X pen that we're going to put up to keep the keekster away from it. Oh, yeah. That's too bad. Yeah, and unlike with a dog, there's not a lot of ways to keep a cat away from the tree. A cat would look at an X pen and turn its snoot up and disdainfully leap to get over it. But Kiki is pretty respectful of barricades. She is of the X pen because she's tried to jump up on our other barricades, you know, to get to us when we go through them. But they're baby gates, so they resist her ridiculousness. However, the X pen fell over on her when she was younger, and now she respects it. She will not leap up on the X pen. So the X pen will go between the Christmas tree and Kiki until Christmas morning. Then she can go in and open up her presents. I bought a stocking for her, and I already have a couple of little toys to put in it. She probably wouldn't eat it, but you know, just being safe here. Trash. Because we do have, I think, glass ornaments, and I would not like to see those in shards on the floor, which would be dangerous for her. There's entertainment value, and then there's safety. Alrighty, that's such a nice dark green. Such a good color for the tree. Now I need a bit of a finer brush. I need to do a little lining and shading. Yeah. Well, I guess you try it, Crowley, and see how the hamsterling goes. I am going to get my brown liner out just to do a little bit of lining and filling in around places. Let's take a check on our dragon. Our dragon is dry, so I'm going to grab a little bit more sealer, paint the tips of the horns with an extra layer. This time I'm going to leave it a little blobby on the tips of the horns, just a little. I'm going to grab a little bit of this and get these top edges because that's where my thumb is going to be pressing down on when I'm using this tool, and the top scale here. Maybe a little bit on the nose. All right, I'm going to go with that, and we will try to use this as a pokey tool, and we will see if the sealer is adequate. Yeah, awesome. Exciting. Yeah, that's an animal with a low wisdom score. Let's get some brown liner in here. We're going to do a 4:1. Just about meeting time, huh? Yep, thanks. Thanks, Carly. I'll see you around. My old cat liked to climb the tree when he was young, but he grew out of it. Decided it wasn't worth it. Hey, the Geekster stayed quiet all the time, guys. Like, it's almost the end of the stream. Low wisdom, high intelligence. Yep. Alright, so I'm just going to darken down around the little balls here. Line a bit. It'll blend right into the ancient oak for the most part, since they're both pretty dark colors. I'm not being real precise with it. I'm more kind of flooding the cracks because there's a lot of deep crevices with this tree, and you're going to want to kind of flood those with shadow if you, because you might miss some spots way down in there. So may as well be with the liner. Almost always poly. If I'm doing a large model and I don't want a thick line, like a really seeable line, like I want more of a natural shadow with it, I will do a 2-to-1. Otherwise it's 4 or 5-to-1. And that gives that dark line. Yeah, I bet Kodiak. We have beams that go across in our big room, and we wrapped one of the beams with Christmas lights last year, and we loved that. So we're gonna do that again this year. Otherwise, we just have the tree inside for decorations. And we buy a real tree because I like to encourage Christmas tree farms planting trees. Even if it doesn't mean we have to put it out on the curb and dispose of it eventually. It's so nice to have the smell, too. I'm not sure, Macho Guru, if we're going to. We have done PAX Unplugged before, but if you didn't hear, our CEO just passed away suddenly, and I'm not sure if Reaper's locked in. I'm not sure what the plan was. I'm not sure any of that. So I can't give you a real solid answer. I suspect, I mean, it probably would have been nailed down before this, if so, but I'm not certain. I mean, it is relatively drivable from Reaper, so hopefully, but yeah, I don't know. Quinn, do you have any idea on PAX Unplugged? Yeah, we were talking about it a lot on Monday this week and a little bit yesterday, Machu. It's he was a good friend and great guy, so it was very sad. It was sudden. He was still pretty young, so it's a sad day for the miniatures hobby. But I'm not sure how that's going to affect moving forward. Don't think they were planning on that one? Oh, okay. Oh, is it PAX Unplugged is out east? Yeah, then it's a no. The one we do, yeah, the one we have done, we've done the original PAX once or twice, and we did PAX South is in Austin. It's drivable from Reaper, so we normally do PAX South, but if it was canceled, then, not doing that. Yeah, then we're not. Sorry. I thought Unplugged was the Austin one. Yeah, that's the long haul with a lot of expenses. Reaper's very conscious after years of going to conventions. It's very conscious of like how expensive it is to go to a convention. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like having people to do them, Quindy. And also it's monetary analysis. Oh, that's awesome, Granica. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, it's just a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and we usually didn't break even on any con. I think Origins and Gen Con, we could come close, but only if we had a lot of volunteers. If we had to get a lot of our people out there, then it was expensive, you know. So sadly, conventions are not a priority anymore. It made sense to do them while Reaper was still like a young company and growing and trying to get the word out about their stuff, but now that we're established, it's a real hard call considering how expensive it is. And Reaper is run by accountants, which is why it's still in business. So, Kitty, gotta get Kitty's paw here. I think that's part of the paw. I can't tell what's part of the paw and what's not. I think that's part of the paw. I think we have a claw and a claw and a claw. I think that's part of the paw. Yeah. Yeah, that mindset. Yeah, I know. If we, we just looked at how many, like sometimes tens of thousands of dollars that we would hemorrhage going to a convention, and we just wouldn't get it back because the booth would be so much in addition to travel and hotel that. And we tried a lot of different ways of cutting costs and making them work over the years. But Reaper would always put its money back into developing its product lines and producing it, the models, and paying the salaries of the people to do it. And I think that's a good priority. Like I'm sad because I was like when I went to Gen Con with Reaper for years, and Origins, and it was always super fun. But so I'm sad, but I understand. There we go. We've got a nice bushy looking tree. Probably time to get ready for the master alpaca. Any word on Luca, Quindy? Yeah, dock fees. Yep. Oh. Yeah, paying for everything for the booth. Yep. Yeah, it's just really expensive. Yeah, it's about 5 after, so I figured we're getting up there, and I can hear the pupster starting to stir in her crate. But she's been a very good girl. Marshmallow costs. You have to buy marshmallows for all your employees. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody can fault Reaper's business sense at this point. Like I said, Ed always had a hugely, just such a savvy grasp of the industry and where to go and what to do. And there, so using some liner to bring out some of the foliage here, which is nice. If you can add an extra step of shadow, it'll help your highlights stand out more on really big textured surfaces like this. Yeah, the rare day that I'm ready to hand it over to Luca. Of course, he's not ready. That always happens. Oh, little star in the middle of that. Ah, new dragon. Oh, I just heard a little peep. I heard a little peep from back in the kitchen. The little whiner is getting ready to whine. Good girl, Kiki. I'll be out in a little bit. You just hold yourself together, okay? You're a good girl. Mama's almost done. Oh, nice, Kernigo. So yeah, getting that brown liner in there just helps to bring out all of this additional detail. Put shadows underneath the wings of the dragon cat. This one's a little bit more open, don't have to shade it as much. There, we got a good start on our Christmas tree. And our kitty cat. I think there's another claw down there. Oh, claw, claw, claw. I'm just hoping we'll eventually get Bones USA machines that can handle larger models. So we can start like really pumping up the quality on. Luca's ready? Awesome. Good, good, good. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. We worked, we finished our Dragon Pokey tool. It is now dry. We can now begin using our Dragon Pokey tool. So I will keep a Dragon Pokey tool here at hand. And we can use and see how it holds up to its paint job. We had started on Christmas Kitty. And I need to find Christmas Kitty's item card. I don't know where I stuffed it. Tomorrow, we will be regressing to a past holiday and working on the stonework and base work for our Necromancer. Necromancer. Yep. So that's what we got going on tomorrow, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let's hand it over to Luca. All right, have a great one, guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.